Hello, everyone. I'm going to wait for a few people to get here and start this conversation and so I can quickly be done with this. I wanted to talk to you all, especially before I posted our new message for people who are interested in initiation and head washing. And I was just thinking about you, Bast. And I was thinking about a situation that prior to now has been pretty private within my societe, which is my voodoo house. You've got to understand that societes are, secret societies. In voodoo and in other ATRs and occult practices, covens, societies, ilays have rules, initiation processes, spiritual requirements, just like in, Lakumi or in Orisha practices, a year in white, that must be adhered to by initiates. But we have a problem in the community in the initiatory process. One of those things which we found out very early on is that I found out very early on, and what took me years to find the house and the spiritual mother in my life, because they're not godmothers in our practice, they're our spiritual mothers, so I literally call her mama. Okay? About things that you need to establish and be aware of as you are choosing your spiritual path and working with your spiritual leaders. The first thing is initiatory requirements are requirements voluntarily. Anyone that tries to scare you into putting money down for an initiation with different scare tactics is someone that I would avoid. And because that is someone I will avoid, I will tell you this. I'll tell you what my mambo says and what I say about initiation. Many people are called to initiation. They're not always called to voodoo. And they're certainly not always called to a particular house with a particular mambo. That means that, as people who practice magic, as you should already be practicing magic, if you're interested to me in these types of things, voodoo is a religion. It involves magical practices. There are very vast differences between our American versions of everything and what is considered to be very real and honest practices in the ATRs. Depending on the house that you reside in, those rules may be different for them. But overall, for example, you cannot initiate into Haitian voodoo in the United States. You can have your head washed, okay? So when you want to go and to initiate, these are the things you have to consider. And I tell people this. We're responsible. You have to understand we are gods. Maybe lesser, most likely, to the higher spirits. That's what I believe. You believe what you want. But God's all the same. The purpose of magic is to level the playing field. The purpose of magic is to have you have abundant, spiritual-filled lives. And what I love about these religions is there's no requirement of meekness, poorness, or blind faith. In ATRs, we rely on results. Proven results that are 300,000 years older than Christianity. So I tell people, when you come and you want to be initiated, before you even get that reading, our house sends out a letter detailing, and many of you probably received that letter because we don't want any misunderstandings, detailing how you're going to get your reading, how Mambo gives such readings. On occasion, because human beings and emails and stuff happen, there's been a couple people who haven't had a reading yet, and if they reach out to me, I reach out to Mambo and we're like, oh, our bad, let's get you that reading. But usually there's enough space between consos that that's not an issue. We even privately inform you of the costs of initiation and your financial responsibilities outside of your initiation. Most of the things in our house are not required, but if you want to see improvement in your life, you gotta, in order to be abundant and really sane in that abundance. I'm not talking about simply being rich. There's an energy exchange. So yes, just like we helped out our church, we have to. We have bills to pay. We have a roof that we want to put on our peristyle. When I initiated, I was using the bathroom in a bucket. Okay? When my mambo built a new peristyle, and I've never made that a secret to anybody that we were building. And even then, I felt like for me that was more of a legitimate experiences than being coddled with a lot of the things that we have become accustomed to in this country. And they are accustomed to in Haiti because they got plenty of plumbing. Okay? But, you understand. We make an effort for people to understand exactly what this is going to cost. Sometimes you're told that you're initiating a certain level and you'll pay a certain amount. And, we've now even got a clause in our information that says if you paid for an initiation and you didn't get that level, the arrangements for you to get the difference. It's in the letter. Because we had that experience before. And because the spirits can make a decision last minute. But see, what a lot of people don't know about a lot of these voodoo houses and other places like that, they keep that difference. They ain't got to pay back nothing if the spirits say, no, that's not the level they should be at this time. And that's really has nothing to do with the person who's initiating you. It has everything to do with you. Because some people even come up a level and they have to initiate at that level. And then, if there's an additional fee involved, they have to pay that, make arrangements with my mambo. But this is all these things that I just want you to know up front right now before I explain this situation to you. A situation that I find intolerable and unnecessary. Okay? As grown ass people trying to get stuff right in this world. Okay? Nobody puts a gun to your head to initiate. If they do, that's not the place for you. Okay? You're given the information. Nobody says a sob story to you, blah, 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 blah. The reality is months before initiations happen, there are a lot of things sometimes hard to get in the location where you're going or take time to make in the place where you're going and to secure the people who are the best at what they do. Drummers, doulas, and the like. Okay? Every single ATR has a system. And those people are paid usually for their services. Okay? Has rituals, has animals that need to be cooked, sacrificed, and eaten. We're not just talking about, food for food's sake, alter things that, No, we're also talking about the care of you while you're being initiated. And those things have to be arranged months in advance. My own initiation was rescheduled 3 times and I had to eat the change fees on my ticket. Okay? That should not be the responsibility of your house. We can't control the weather. Okay? Buy travel insurance. Telemarketer. So, this is what happened. I don't have to talk about people's names and put their businesses in the streets because all of this because that person is very free with the words that they put on a page. I'm sure all of this will be put out there. But there was someone who signed up for initiation. Not only. Now, you have to understand, I spent well over a couple of years getting to know my mambo before I even went to initiation. And that last year was spent in training, giving me the information that I needed. Not everybody who initiates with somebody is a good fit, and that's a problem. Because you really should take the time, go through ups and downs, challenges with any relationship before you do something like that. It's like marriage, but a little bit harder to get out of. Because there are rules in every single religion if you want to leave your house. It's not simple like switching churches. So this person not only, unlike me, I'd never been to Haiti in my life until I went for initiation. Went to Haiti, visited with my mambo, got to see our temple, changes that I haven't even seen being made. Witness her life as she lives it, which was a lot like 201, when people would be able to come here and, see what I was doing. Okay? Get to know somebody on a personal level. Very few people can afford initiation, much less that type of time with your godparent prior to initiation. But at this point, I'd suggest it. So having said and done all this, this person pays for their initiation, and other people do too as well, because that money has to come up ahead of time so all this stuff can be taken care of, and ain't no last minute raggedy running around if it does. Because what happens is when that occurs, and there's incidences all the time with every conzo, where the people in the house, because those people are in the Jevo, have to chip in, help out, whatever, and that shouldn't be. I can count at least 10 people who have in one way or another promised their initiation funds by a certain date. My mambo, because yes, a very small amount compared to what these people are charging and other particular people who have initiations, but she even put up what she would get out of this situation in order to secure everything that's needed for Conzo. And then those people decided they didn't want to initiate. We had a few people who wanted to initiate, but due to the weather problems we had, and then changes in their schedule and changes in their financial situation, or feeling funky about the whole thing because after all this time, they decided that's something that they didn't want to do. They gifted their initiation fees. It was understood that it was non-refundable. This particular person has now gone to PayPal. Now, mind you, when a mambo receives initiation fees, that money just doesn't sit in an account. That money goes then out to do what the mambo said they were going to do with said money, which is secure the premises, make sure that the improvements we want to make to the peristyle are there, secure the drummers, secure the animals that are maybe being born right now, making deposits on clothing and food and paid professionals. Because and I don't know how anybody else does their consoles, but that's what my mambo does. Now, things don't always go off without a hitch, but this is not the reason why I'm coming to you today. Because this person paid for their initiation. It's in the forms that we send every single one of you, the letters. It's in the invoice that when Mambo sends the invoice via PayPal for you to pay. It's a nice, secure way to pay. Has now put up a PayPal case. And so I've heard is accusing members of our house of magically going after her. This person, and it happens, I've seen this happen to several people in my house, outside of my house, has maybe internalized messages given to them from some other practitioner or some other priest or priestess to make the decision for themselves that they should not follow along this process. But this is when we come into the issue when you start fucking with the church's money. Because the reality is now that that initiate's money has been put towards the very things that were promised, then that money that's in that account is her business account, as all of this should be done by business. Traceable, trackable, etc. Should be doing this like this so that you have traceable records, which is why PayPal was a good option. But, yes, this happened to me in 201. I've had this happen to me before, and I've never lost a PayPal case. The invoice clearly says March 2020. Clearly says that there is final sale. All sales are final. And this person has already put up a PayPal case to get their money back for their initiation that has not even occurred yet, that they have decided not to pursue. That's like me going to the grocery store and paying for Something, I don't even know if the grocery store is acceptable, because if you leave the grocery store, well, depending on what it is, a perishable good. If a store has a policy of no returns and the sales of perishable goods, you can't take it back. A custom item. You've gone, you bought a custom item. The custom item is going to be delivered months from now. There's nobody that said the custom item would not be delivered and then say, I want my money back, when it was very clear from the very beginning that refunds are not allowed. We've had people write e-checks for their initiation payments that have bounced. E-checks. So in the future, there will be different ways for you, other than PayPal, other than any of this nonsense, where you can just snatch the rug out from somebody, because now that's her money that's tied up. Her money to do the repairs in the pedestal, her money from her website, from her business that she sells to pay her rent for her store. Now that is all tied up and being held due to this person's PayPal case. Not only is that unethical, that is very, very, very wrong and unfair. And then, but like I said, not having that conversation to begin with before that person decided that they just weren't. You should be able to have conversations with your future godparents about your doubts, your fears, and your frustrations if you are experiencing them. You should have a rational elder in your life that is going to talk to you, because trust me, through the initiatory process, and if you're not rushed into it, you're going to be tested. If you do like we do, which is an average of 9 months to a year, with getting to know Mambo, doing all these things, and towards the end of that year, when there's like 3 or 4 months left, usually, is when you got to have your stuff all paid up. I understand doubts, because this is not meant to be an easy process for anybody. But you have to understand the parameters under which you pay and what motivates you to go forward in the first place. And I tell people all the time, if you're not sure, if you keep studying, don't even get the reading till you know with conviction, you've been given the letter, you know how much it costs. You know with conviction that this is the road from you, come hell or high water, and you're going to get your initiation and you're going to be able to afford it. Nobody's going to put a gun to your head and tell you that you have to do. But what I will tell you is we're always responsible for our spiritual knowledge. If you receive the message and that message is not forced upon you, and if you paid for the message, and if the spirits tell you, and just because you get an initiation in reading from one person, then nothing else has been done. You don't have to go with that house. You're not tied to a priest or a priestess until you initiate. And even then, like I said, there are procedures, so I've heard, for you to step away from your spiritual house. And for different reasons, there are different procedures. But nobody's going to put a gun to your head, and they shouldn't, and scare you into initiation. Now, what you may have and what you may find occurring you is that the spirits, because this is real, this is not a joke, the spirits are going to lay on you, give you messages, constant reminders. And those reminders can be pleasant and they can be not so pleasant of what you are now responsible for with your newfound knowledge. And for example, and one of the reasons why I got initiated, I'm like, oh man, this is, for example, helping customers, doing certain things that customers want me to do that I believe that I need a higher spiritual connection and a level of training to do. And then go get initiated to have power to threaten or to mistreat people. It was to give me power and protection when helping them work out spiritual issues in their lives. Because you just can't walk in to certain situations with your head uncovered. And so I realized I wanted to get closer to my spirits. I wanted to get closer to what I believe is My responsibility as a spiritual elder, I just don't want to be out here flapping my gums in these streets. And I have to be in a house that spiritually resonates with me. And it's the thing is, yes, Mambo will ask you to donate. She feeds the poor every month. Some of us who have been given gifts from Spirit have been asked to tithe a portion of what we make with those gifts to support the house. It ain't nothing like the church though, y'all. But yes, and we're not passing the plate at the church and locking the doors and not letting you leave. So understand, different houses going to pay different fees. Some places are going to be way more expensive than others. Some places are going to have different tactics than others. But if you are an ethical person, and there's so much more I could tell you about. Like, we've been given classes. And Mambo has classes all the time. A lot of times I don't make them because I work and I have the store. But I'm going and I'm spending the time with her for the new year to get firsthand, hands-on experience and knowledge. Okay? But that person was also had emails to attend all the Zoom sessions where we received the training leading up to initiation. She started to receive the benefits of initiation and she hasn't even been initiated yet. So there is a real problem with that, you guys. I believe that there are problems in every religion. I believe that no particular priest, priestess, or initiate or prospective initiate is perfect. But there's a way you go about doing things so that you are as clear as humanly possible. So that later when people go and get with other people who practice what we do or don't practice what we do, who have an opinion about the way we do things or about that person's need to initiate it all, that's another problem. When I go to festivals, I don't participate in group rituals. I don't go to other people's parties and misas and bimbes and things like that. I participate in those things with my house. So often I'll go back to my cabin or room or whatever after I do my lecture or my responsibility at the festival, because I don't practice most of the time what they do. And it's, for me, really important for me to concentrate on my religion and practice with people who are on the same energy wavelength as me. Whereas you can walk yourself into situations in certain public rituals where everybody's energy is not on the same level as yours. And too many people I've spoken to have had that bad experience. So that's why it is very important that you be completely down with your spiritual house, your godparent. And, I've talked to people who may have had issues, misunderstandings during our initiatory process. And, in the end, the responsibility is my Mambo's. But I am going to always tell them, you need to talk to her about it, because I've not ever had a personal situation where we've had something going on and I can't talk to her about it. There are times when we talk and I don't agree. But it's not to the point where I don't want her to be my spiritual parent anymore, because I spent a lot of time getting to know her so I wouldn't have those issues later on. I'd already been through 2 other Mambos and their Mambos that I was not comfortable with. And also I didn't get on blast on social media when I distanced myself from those people. I just was like, no, thank you. Because it was unnecessary. They were not the priestess for me. And so all my Mambo asked us to do as initiates was to be ethical, to tell the truth, be good business people in whatever we did. But, be as honest and ethical as possible. Try to solve misunderstandings, and not be out here just trying to take people's money and, being prosperity pimps and stuff like that. I'm not out here flossing. Even when I have good things in my life, I acknowledge them as the gifts of spirit that they are, thank the spirit, and keep living. I don't have to post magic or even my own personal testimonials for people to believe that this works. I'll actually rely on the testimonials of other people because that's their magic. And to be out here automatically assuming, and it's sad because that's the situation in all occupations, but especially in spiritual occupations, that somebody's going to reach out and hurt them and retaliate because they decided not to initiate. How sway? What kind of spiritual person are you? It's enough to leave the spirits to take care of those people who want to not initiate. We don't have to do anything to them. If they're meant to initiate, spirits are going to take care of that. One way or the other. May not be with us. Who knows? But that's not our thing. This sun is so bright, y'all. And I love it because it's been really cloudy here. So you gotta understand that you really can't jump into this. And yes, it costs money. And yes, we do try to be as transparent as possible. But no African traditional religion. I don't even think any church, I don't think you can walk into any Christian church and be like, I put $50 in the collection plate on Sunday and I want it back. You'll get laughed at. So I don't understand how, when all of the terms have been told to you prior to you pushing those buttons, would make you feel like you were cheated out your money, because that's what happens when you do a PayPal case. I had a PayPal case where I didn't receive what they gave me, and they still judged against me because they gave web links. It was supposed to be an electronic product, but the web links never worked. It was $30. It was no longer worth my time. It was for some software or some stock photos. So I didn't even fight it. But that's because if I wanted to, I could have. Okay? Because I didn't get the product. But when the product is a service, and that service hasn't even been rendered yet, and there is a date for that service, how you gonna do a case when the service ain't even been rendered yet? And how you gonna do a PayPal case when it clearly says no refunds or all sales are final? We work with people that pay for initiation and for whatever reason can't make it. There's always a new date, but guess what? Those same deposits have to be put back down again. Your deposit already went. So sometimes, there'll be a difference and you might have to pay some more. And some people don't agree with that, but that's the way this is done. So understand that what you're paying for is like any other deposit. If you put a deposit on a hall for a wedding and you decide you're not getting married, guess what? You've lost that. So if you decide you want to still get married there at a later date, they might be able to work something out with you, but it is not their responsibility to give you that deposit back, no matter how large it was, or to include it in your new bill. That's not how that works, and that's not how initiation works. You pay the required deposits, and if that means your initiation is being paid for in full, because I told Mambo, payment plans, no, let's not. And you understand that, and you do that. There's no takesy-backsies. Okay? So before I put out another recruitment email asking people who are interested, I get hundreds of replies, and that's why I haven't done it lately. And I'm asking that you guys are going to email somebody else this time from our house. But the only reason why I'm the person that asks is because I have a following. Because I'm a spiritual merchant. We're not making any, we're not cutting, we're cutting right to the chase here. There's nothing to do with I'm this amazing and wonderful person. However, I do hope the people that do want to initiate would come to us because we try to be as transparent as voodoo will allow us to be. And see, a lot of people don't understand that there are some things that are not for people. And if you're not initiated, there's some things that you're not going to learn until you are. And that the level of initiation is determined upon what you are given. So it's a little complicated. It's different in every single house. There are Asan lineages, non-Asan lineages, and then the complexities of other ATRs. They all have different rules. Okay? So understand that. But this is business. And it's not acceptable nor desired for anybody to be fucking with the church's money. Ever. And so people need to understand that. Before you ever get a reading, before you ever start talking on serious terms with a spiritual potential godparent, you should know these things. The saddest thing that happens to me is when people who have initiated under people, and some of these people I know personally, used to stand for all day long, come to me and tell me about the fuck shit that they have endured with a particular practitioner, a priest, or a priestess. Oftentimes those people are terrified. They don't want to speak up. They don't want to expose that person. You know, it's one thing. I can't be the conjure or ATR police. Not something I really think is the best use of my spiritual time. What I think is the best use of my spiritual time is to try to get people to really divine for themselves, peep out. There are people who I thought were reputable in the past that I can no longer recommend. And now that I find new people that are reputable that I can. You know, if you don't want to go voodoo, you want to go Ifa, Lakumi, I try to find people that I know have good character, so they can refer them to people with good character. This is not about just growing my own spiritual house when I have magical mentoring sessions with people. It's to get them started, for them to pick where they want to go with their studies, to start to look for people. So like my mentor program, one of my mentees was asking me about people, and I could relay my personal observation experiences and the things that they put out in public that make me go, no, and I point them towards that. I don't have to talk about anybody. I can just point them to public evidence of situations and let them make that decision themselves. Just like this. I'm going to refer to public evidence. And I know that every single person who is watching this who received a voodoo initiation letter from me, especially in this last go around, because we tweak the letter as we go, because when we get fuck shit, we have to. Best practices. It's called change management, crisis management, which I've been in for over 25 years. So when you're training people to do something and there's an as is, there's a to be, and then when you finish, you reflect on the things that went well and the things that didn't, and you develop a series of best practices. And so any evolving organization should do that. And make no doubt about it, my mambo has an MBA. She ain't new to any of this. She's true to this. So this is a matter of business, and this is a matter of spirituality. Ain't nobody gonna make you initiate. But guess what? If those spirits are calling you to the point where you are coming to someone like myself and inquiring about initiation, do you really think that they're going to go away because you decide not to do it? Just like I was talking to my kids this morning, I don't do like, you know, when you're in a Christian household and we push in our Christian households when we were coming up, the principles and all of the stuff about Christianity. We really try to lay that on our kids and stuff like that. And I did it too. When I was a Christian, I believed. I tried something different with voodoo. I tried living, not speaking, living my belief system. So when some bullshit goes down, my children know, act going to close these doors to this altar room. I ain't even got to teach them everything I know. I may send them on errands for some of the ingredients, but they know I'm in there handling a situation. Do I teach my children everything that I know? No, you'd be stupid to do so. Even your spiritual children, you got to keep some shit for yourself. But the basic tenets in my house, we're being taught. If I got a question, I pay my tithes, I pay my charity, I help support my mama, so I don't get charged up the ass every time I go to her for a spell. So that's the way a lot of these priests and priestesses do it. They either charge you because you're not making regular contributions, or they will charge you to do the work for you because they don't want to teach you shit. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. And you know what? Some people ain't ready for everything. Some people get mad because Mambo hasn't maybe taught them something that they wanted to learn. And that's because Mambo has been directed by the spirits that person didn't need that right now in their life. And you have to be able to implicitly trust your spiritual leaders in order to deal with that and not let the rest of the outside world get in your head. At the same time, you got to be level-headed enough to know and not get got. There's a balance here. And that balance is your spiritual protection through your personal relationship with your spirits, not what your Mambo or Ngan or Iya or Babalao can do for you. So my daughter, I was talking to my oldest daughter. She's like, I told her, I said, understand this. I need you to look at this situation because you're young. And I told her, I said, you don't have to initiate. But you know what you're responsible for, not me. And she's like, I can't. I don't have a choice. Spirits have let me know that all by myself. You had nothing to do with that. Good. So if I treat my kids like that, understand that that's how I talk to anybody that is seeking to initiate. You know, this is disturbing and disgusting. And sadly, just because you have a lot of followers, you have to understand, y'all. You know, I've discussed with you before this whole conjure culture of personality and how I have never been comfortable with people, fangirling or, people cry when they see me because, it's very easy to get caught up in that. It's very easy to be flattered and think you about it over human emotions. That's no longer working with spirit, y'all. I am a vehicle, I am a vessel, and they have given me some gifts that I didn't even want. But when I see what has happened in my life, I care about people. And I care about people who are down with the same things and the same integrity and spiritual vibe, no matter what the religion they practice. I'm down with that. I'm down with growing. But I'm also down with the understanding that you are going to be tested. You are going to be given challenges. Even if you don't even think on spiritual terms about your life, you're tested every day. We go out here, we work, whether we work from home or wherever we're working. Our integrity is tested. Our patience is tested. Our nerves, especially as Black people in the workplace, are tested. It is up to us as grown-ass people to survive those tests. It is also up to us as grown-ass people to learn the lessons. And I'm going to tell you, not everybody who initiates or pays to initiate or is interested in initiate will initiate. Understand that when you put your money up. And your personal lesson doesn't change the fact that that contract, that invoice that you pay and you sign says, I'm going to participate in this group activity. And I understand that when I give you this money, all sales are final, which means it's final, but we've worked with lots of people who couldn't come during a certain time. Mambo's worked with me. I was supposed to go last September and I couldn't do it because of my responsibilities for the store. There are levels to voodoo, many of them. And so when the spirits say it's time, it's time. And so, and ideally, nothing should stop you. You'd be surprised how spirits will make a way. But you got to be serious. You got to be sure when you throw in that kind of money. You know, you are putting forth, it's part of your spiritual inheritance. And right, lots of people, I was very surprised at some of the big names that came forth this last time we did a recruitment for our house. And, I don't, I let Mambo deal with all of the readings and all of that. But I'm going to have to start doing readings on a few of y'all before I even send you her way. Because I knew about the situation well in advance, but hadn't had time to sit down and divine on it. But I had a feeling. So now, just like everybody learning a lesson for the situation, I have now learned a lesson about the situation. And that I should have trusted my gut and not been, I don't like to be seen as a naysayer. I don't like to be seen as someone who wants to get in the way of someone else's spiritual growth. But I'm going to have to start saying some stuff more often when I get a feeling. To my mama only. And she, if I say it and she says something different, I've expressed myself. But my mama is patient. She's kind. She does try to work with people. None of us are perfect human beings. But when you cancel things without speaking to the person that you planned them with in the first place, how dare you come back and try to lock up somebody's money when you didn't follow directions? I know we don't like to read directions, especially when putting together the IKEA furniture. But the thing I've learned from voodoo, IKEA furniture, and dollhouse building is that you better read the fine print. You better be able to divine on it for yourself. And you better be very, very sure in your position before you give people what can be a sizable amount of money up for your initiation. This video will be linked in every single letter that we send out to future initiates. This video will also go on my YouTube channel. And if my Mambo deems so, wherever in the associated pages. Because we got to start behaving like grown-ass people here. This ain't no cult. Ain't nobody trying to separate you from your family. Ain't nobody even really trying to separate you from your money unless that is what you want to do. And just like I tell my daughters about like relationships and marriage, if you walking down that aisle and you got some doubts, no matter how much it costs you financially, jump out. But don't expect the people that were paid for that day to support your nuptials to hand you shit back. But don't go into it if you have any doubts, because it's going to be bad for you and the people that you are married to. And trust me, spirituality, these religions, it is like marriage. There is give and take. There is consideration and cooperation. It's a family. You are joining with people and spirits to hopefully meet your spiritual goals and evolution and live your best life. Anything beyond that is some shit that they just trying to sell you. Have a great day.